Welcome back to 42nd Street, Episode 2. Last time we made it from the Hudson River and 12th Avenue just past 9th Avenue. One more block east and we discover
Holy Cross Church, the oldest building on 42nd Street. The parish was established in 1852 and outgrew the original chapel in a couple of years. So another church was built, but was struck by lightning and burnt down in 1867, which means that this was the tallest building around back then. But this church has been standing strong since 1870. It's also known as Duffy's Church, named for Francis P. Duffy, World War I chaplain, later rector and pastor of the church, whose bronze sculpture can be found in Father Duffy Square, which is in Times Square. We're getting there. And then directly across the street from the church is the Port Authority bus terminal. Yeah, the name of the show is Unique New York with Nathan Kaufman. You didn't think we were actually going to skip Kaufman's Army and Navy surplus, did you? Hey, Jim, thanks for having us.
Nathan, how are you?
Jim Korn has been running the joint since 1984, when he took over from his grandfather, whose name was...
Nathan Kaufman.
You can't make this stuff up.
Well, you could.
But we're not. Jim, you mind showing us around?
No, come on over.
Cool. You know, Jim, my father, Mark Kaufman, actually served as a drill sergeant for Vietnam. And we have this family photo of him, I believe when he was in boot camp,
sure.
visiting family in Central Park. Mm-hmm. Do you have this hat?
Yeah.
We Kaufmans have big heads. Thank you very much.
Well, sure.
Hey, I really appreciate it. Jim, I'd like to buy this pin.
Sure.
And I got Kaufman's wooden dollar. Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll see you.
Kaufman's was originally established in 1938, and it was originally located where the World Trade Center is today. Kaufman's moved to the Deuce in 1940, which makes it the oldest business in continuous operation on 42nd Street, and has been at this location since 1946, after having to move from across the street in 1945 because of the construction of the Port Authority bus terminal. Simply put, the Port Authority is the organization that connects New York and New Jersey. It was opened in 1921, but this bus terminal was opened in 1950. It's the largest bus terminal in the US by space and the largest bus terminal in the world by volume of traffic. That's about 8,000 buses and almost 250,000 passengers every weekday. Approximately 65 million passengers a year. To be honest, the atmosphere within the Port Authority leaves something to be desired, but they're working on it. Or at least they're thinking about working on it. I don't know. Hopefully we'll find out soon. But there is one thing I want to show you. This is a sculpture of Ralph Cramden, played by Jackie Gleason from the famous television show The Honeymooners from the 1950s. Now, we should have included this in our controversial statues episode. Ralph was a bus driver, so it's very fitting that his sculpture be outside the Port Authority. But to many, the character of Ralph Cramden represents misogyny and white supremacy. He lived in a whites-only building, he worked for a bus company that wouldn't hire people of color, and he belonged to a fraternal lodge that was, again, whites only. To many people, this sculpture is antiquated and offensive. Food for thought. Let's roll. And as we cross 8th Avenue, we leave Hell's Kitchen and we are officially in Times Square. Breathe it in. Look, I don't need to tell you that most New Yorkers don't hang out here. We work here, we see shows here, we bring the kids down here to have some fun. But look, this is a Thursday afternoon. Imagine this on a Saturday night. It's not for me. It's not for most of us. And don't get me wrong, Times Square is very important to New York City. It brings in huge amounts of revenue, it maintains legacy, but it doesn't always maintain the atmosphere New Yorkers crave. But I still got some gems for you. This movie theater was originally the Eltinge 42nd Street Theater, an 880-seat Broadway house opened in 1912. But it isn't in its original location. It was originally where the Madame Tussauds complex is now. In 1997, this 3,700-ton structure was moved 168 feet west, here to its current location across the street. Along with the facade, you can still find parts of the original theater here inside. Huge friggin' McDonald's, 2 floors, really nice ambiance, and the French fries are... And before we reach 7th Avenue, we pass by 2 of the oldest active Broadway houses, the New Amsterdam and the New Victory. The New Victory was opened in 1900 by Oscar Hammerstein, and it was originally called the Theater Republic. Then it was called the Belasco Theater. Then it was called the Republic Theater. In the 1930s, it became Minsky's Burlesque House. In the 1940s, it was a movie theater called the Victory. But by 1972, it couldn't resist the seduction of the deuce, and it became a porno house. By the early to mid-90s, 42nd Street started cleaning up its act, and the Victory was the first revitalized theater on 42nd Street. By 1995, it was renamed the New Victory and was the first off-Broadway theater for children and families. Victory indeed. The New Amsterdam opened up in 1903, and it housed many great Broadway productions. But 1995 is when it became the flagship to Disney theatrical productions on Broadway. This is where Lion King opened up before it moved a couple of blocks uptown. Mary Poppins was here, now Aladdin. Dude's actually flying around on a carpet. It's awesome. But the Tony and Olivier award-winning 1980 Broadway production of 42nd Street was performed at the Winter Garden Theater, about 8 blocks uptown. The Winter Garden Theater is one of only 3 Broadway theaters that is actually on the street of Broadway. It has a capacity of over 1,500 audience members, and all of those seats, along with the rest of America's theaters, will remain empty until social distancing restrictions are lifted. Let's all do our part to make that happen as soon as possible. In the meantime, stay tuned for Unique New York with Nathan Kaufman's next installment of 42nd Street. So be sure to like and subscribe. Be safe, and we'll see you real soon.